From WAMU and NPR in Washington, this is 1A. Hi, I'm Nyla Boodoo. Today on 1A, we shine our local spotlight on the community of Houston's 5th Ward. After decades of disinvestment and living near industrial facilities, many residents are grappling with the effects of cancer and chronic illness. Now, the city's stepping up to fund relocation efforts for those who want to move out of the neighborhood. But most people are staying put. We hear why. But first, the latest on the political unrest in Haiti. Is there a path forward for those whose lives have been upended? That's coming up after these headlines.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for new elections in Israel. Schumer, the first Jewish person to serve in the chamber's top post, criticizes the extent which Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's campaign in Gaza, where authorities say Palestinian civilians are facing the threat of famine from 5 months of war between Israel and Hamas. But on the Senate floor today, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell pushed back.
It is grotesque and hypocritical for Americans who hyperventilate about foreign interference in our own democracy to call for the removal of a democratically elected leader of Israel.
McConnell recently announced plans to step down from his role. Division in Congress comes as Israel also faces international condemnation over its plans for a military offensive in Rafah. The United Nations says it will begin evacuating non-essential staff from Haiti. NPR's Zeta Peralta reports this comes days after Haiti's prime minister announced he intended to resign.
The situation in Port-au-Prince has been calmer these days, but gangs are still in control and the country's prime minister is still in Puerto Rico, unable to return. The U.S. has sent an anti-terrorism team of Marines to beef up security at the embassy.
Good morning. 1 month ago, on February 18th, we lost 3 brave men. Matthew Ruge, Paul Elmstrand, and Adam Finseth dedicated their lives to public safety. Our hearts go out to their families and the community they served. We are grieving with you. Law enforcement has been working around the clock to investigate the violent events of that day. As we quickly learned in the aftermath of February 18th, Shannon Gooden, a convicted felon, used 2 AR-15 style firearms to shoot and kill these 3 men and to wound Burnsville Sergeant Adam Medley. But since that tragic day, law enforcement and the public have been asking the same question. How did a violent felon obtain these firearms? Immediately after the tragic shootings, highly experienced BCA agents, with the support of the ATF, set out to find the answer. Working through the night, they learned that Gooden obtained these deadly firearms by enlisting another person to buy them. This practice, having another person buy firearms for a felon, is called straw purchasing, and it is a serious felony under federal criminal law. Now, today, we can answer the question Minnesotans have been asking since February 18th. This morning, we are announcing a federal indictment charging Ashley Ann Deardahl, Gooden's longtime live-in partner, with purchasing 5 firearms for Gooden, including the weapons used to kill the officers and first responder. She did this with the knowledge that he was prohibited under federal law from possessing firearms. These 5 weapons included powerful AR-15 style firearms and semi-automatic Glock pistols. The indictment charges Deardahl with 1 count of conspiring with Gooden to violate federal firearms laws and with 5 counts of being a straw purchaser under Title 18, Section 932, a federal felony that was part of the recent bipartisan Safer Communities Act. In addition, Deardahl is charged with 5 counts of lying on the ATF federal form required when purchasing a weapon. The form requires every purchaser to state that they are buying the weapon for themselves. As alleged in the indictment, over the course of 5 months between September 2023 and January 2024, Deardahl repeatedly visited gun stores at Gooden's direction and purchased or picked up the specific firearms he chose. On January 5th and on January 25th of this year, Deardahl purchased the 2 AR-15 style firearms Gooden used in the shooting on February 18th. The indictment makes it clear that Deardahl and Gooden knew exactly what they were doing, that he could not purchase firearms because he was a convicted felon. So instead, he would pick out specific weapons and she would buy them in violation of federal law, placing powerful weapons in the hands of a violent convicted felon. One example of Deardahl's clear understanding that they were violating the law is described in paragraph 12 of the indictment. There, Deardahl warned Gooden in a text message about their illegal gun purchases and cautioned him to be careful about what they were doing. In a second chilling text message exchange, Deardahl asked Gooden how he liked a new Glock 47 semi-automatic pistol she had just purchased for him. He responded by sending her a video in which he loaded the Glock 47 with an extended magazine. She responded with a smiling heart emoji. As this indictment makes clear, Deardahl's illegal buying spree for Gooden demonstrates a reprehensible disregard for public safety and the law. And the consequences of this disregard for public safety are beyond comprehension. Deardahl intentionally and repeatedly obtained powerful and dangerous firearms and put them in the hands of a violent convicted felon. As a result of Deardahl's criminal actions, the families and friends of these men and their agencies and our entire community will mourn their loss forever. This case came together quickly. The work of the talented and dedicated agents of the BCA has been nothing short of brilliant, and I thank them for their professionalism and commitment to justice in bringing these facts to life. They make us proud, and I thank the ATF for assisting the BCA by bringing their own deep experience in straw purchasing investigations. I am grateful to stand with the BCA and the ATF today to announce these charges. And I am honored to stand with Burnsville Police Chief Tanya Schwarz and Fire Chief BJ Jungman. I also thank Kathy Keena, the Dakota County Attorney, for her collaboration and strong partnership these weeks as we prepared these charges. To the families of the fallen officers, to Sergeant Medlicott, and to all of law enforcement and all first responders in Minnesota who face danger on our behalf every day. My office honors you, respects you, and stands with you. I'll now ask Superintendent Drew Evans to discuss this case further.
Well, good morning. My name is Drew Evans, and I'm the Superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. I will start where U.S. Attorney Luger ended off, and that our continued sympathy, thoughts, prayers, collective grief stand with Chief Schwarz, Chief Jungman, the respective departments, the Burnsville community, the community as a whole in the state of Minnesota for the selfless sacrifice that happened in this case as we saw our police officers, firefighter, paramedic give their lives while trying to protect others. I want to also thank U.S. Attorney Andy Luger for bringing these charges today in his office for taking on federal prosecution in this portion of the case. I also thank the ATF and their dedication to assisting us and bringing their expertise, as U.S. Attorney Luger noted, to help us get to the point today, and the collaboration and cooperation and assistance of the Dakota County Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office as we examine the facts of this case, which is still a very active and ongoing investigation. Since the beginning of 2023, There have been 18 police officers and 1 firefighter paramedic that have been shot in the state of Minnesota. 4 of them lost their lives. Included in that total are 2 more incidents that have just happened in the last couple of weeks in the state of Minnesota, where individuals choose violence against our first responders in Minnesota. And this today is one step towards holding those accountable that participate in providing weapons that lead to these types of actions. Ashley Deerdahl knew Shannon Gooden was prohibited from possessing these firearms. She even wrote a letter trying to help him restore his firearms rights. And when Shannon Gooden couldn't get guns through legal means, Ashley Deerdahl assisted him to get the guns through her illegal actions. Ashley Deerdahl didn't shoot anybody, make no mistake. That is Shannon Gooden who did that in this incident. But Ashley Deerdahl handed him the guns, and for this she must be held accountable. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension's Independent Force Investigations Unit is conducting a broad, multifaceted investigation into this matter. The February 18th shooting incident that took the lives of firefighter Adam Finseth, police officer Matthew Ruge, police officer Paul Elmstrand, and injured Sergeant Adam Mendlicott. Mr. Gooden's actions prior to the arrival of the first responders and his effort to obtain firearms that he was prohibited from possessing, which is what we're here to talk about today. Our work on the shooting incident is ongoing, and his actions earlier that day are ongoing, and as a result, we can't get into further details about that very active, ongoing investigation. But we already know where he got the firearms that were used that day, and that's from Ashley Deerdahl. So we've broken off that portion of the investigation, the straw purchase, and we are grateful for prosecution at the federal level for that portion of this incident. This occurred after consulting with the Dakota County Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office to bring the most appropriate charges at this time with the information that we know. One of the firearms Ashley Deerdahl purchased was one with a binary trigger, enabling the gun to fire when the trigger is both pulled and released, increasing the rate of fire. Without Ashley Deerdahl's help, Shannon Gooden would not have had the firepower he had at his disposal on that day, and hopefully we would have had a less tragic result. When the remaining portions of our investigation are complete, we will provide the complete findings to the Dakota County Attorney's Office. Kathy Keena will review at that time under state law a review of the findings of our investigation. Our Independent and Force Investigations Unit has been working nonstop since February 18th to complete interviews, analyze evidence, review video, do analysis of evidence collected from the scene in our forensic laboratory. But this work will take some time, and we ask you for your patience as we continue that work. There will be a complete accounting of the incident, the facts that led to what happened that day, and the incident in its entirety, but that will come down the road. And with that, I will turn it over to Special Agent in Charge Travis Riddle from the ATF.
Good morning. My name is Travis Riddle. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for ATF for the St. Paul Field Division. Firstly, I would like to express my deepest condolences to both of the chiefs and the family and friends of the fallen first responders. Losing a member of a department is devastating, and I thank you for being here with us today to be part of this investigation. As U.S. Attorney Luger mentioned previously, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act establishes new criminal offenses that specifically address the straw purchasing of firearms and strengthens existing provisions of federal law that prohibit the transfer of firearms to prohibited persons or to those who intend to commit a felony offense. These provisions provide law enforcement with additional tools to combat violent crime, and I'm pleased to see them used in this case. The trafficking of firearms to violent criminals and prohibited persons presents a great threat to public safety. Straw purchasing makes it possible for prohibited persons to effectively circumvent the background check and record-keeping requirements of federal law by distancing themselves from the documented part of the firearm purchase. ATF has unique capabilities to support this investigation, and we have used our resources and technical expertise as a way to help bring justice to the families and the Burnsville community. The criminal justice system shall not stand idle while individuals supply the firearms that fuel the violence within our communities. Straw purchasing is not a victimless crime, and we seek to target these illegal purchasers and hold them accountable for their actions, which is why we are here today. We look forward to the successful conclusion of this case, and I want to thank each and every one of the agencies that was involved in this investigation and commend the amount of work and effort and partnership that it took to put this together in such a short amount of time to ensure that justice is served. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Keena, the Dakota County Attorney. In 2007, my office charged Shannon Gooden with second-degree assault, a crime he was convicted of in 2008. Because this is a crime of violence, he was prohibited from possessing firearms. That prohibition continued after he was discharged from probation in 2013. In August of 2020, Mr. Gooden filed a petition to have his gun rights restored. My office opposed the petition. The court sided with my office and denied it. Tragically, the efforts of my office were negated due to the actions of Ashley Deardahl. Ms. Deardahl was well aware in 2020 that Shannon Gooden was prohibited from possessing firearms because she filed an affidavit in support of his petition for restoration. As she stated in her affidavit about Mr. Gooden, and I quote, "Family is everything to him, and that is why these rights are so meaningful to him. He hopes to one day own his own home, and protecting that home involves having these Second Amendment rights." In retrospect, it was the 7 children in his home that needed protection from him. Ms. Deardahl is the reason why he had an arsenal of firearms in his possession that ultimately resulted in the murder of 3 of Dakota County's finest and the injury of another as they selflessly acted to protect those children. I wish to thank U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger and his staff for their determination and tenacity in seeking an indictment in this matter and doing so in an expeditious manner. And I also wish to thank the Minnesota BCA and the ATF for their outstanding work in investigating this case. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm BJ Jungman, Fire Chief for the City of Burnsville. Chief Schwarz and I are extremely grateful for the collaboration between all of our law enforcement partners, our Dakota County Attorney Kathy Keena, and the United States Attorney Andrew Luger and his team for being swift and aggressive in pursuing charges in this case. The loss of Officer Matt Ruge, Officer Paul Elmstrand, firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth, and the wounding of Sergeant Adam Medlicott is profound and an avoidable tragedy. The families of our lost heroes, our departments, and our communities are still grieving the horrific loss, and all of our lives will be changed forever. I believe our partners would be alive today if this woman would not have bought these guns and given them to the murderer who shot our partners on February 18th. I'm encouraged that there will be accountability for this tragedy. I'll turn it over to Police Chief Tanya Schwarz to continue our comments.
Thank you, Chief Jungman. Again, I'm Tanya Schwarz, Burnsville Police Chief. I echo Chief Jungman's comments and all the remarks that have been given here today. I'm very, very grateful for the partners who've supported us since this tragedy occurred, and that Sergeant Adam Medlicott survived this just horrific incident. Chief Jungman and I have been extremely clear that we want the full power of our county, state, and federal resources to be driving forward in a relentless pursuit of accountability and justice for Matt, Paul, and Adam. The indictments today serve as clear collaboration and a first step in that pursuit. The blatant disrespect and assaults on police officers and all public safety has got to end. The women and men across the country who honor their oath and they put their lives on the line to serve and protect. They deserve respect and they deserve support every day. Every day, not just when a tragedy strikes, not just when it's convenient, not just when there's a personal purpose there. We will never give up. We will never give up seeking accountability and justice for Matt, Paul, Adam, and their families. And today, we swing the balance back in protection of our communities, those who protect and serve, and the fallen families who also have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to take a few questions. Direct your questions to me, please, and about the indictments. If I cannot answer them, I will ask Superintendent Evans or ATF Special Agent Charge Riddle.
Is she in custody?
Wait, we're going to do this by hands, right? That's okay. Steve, I'll come to you second first. Go ahead, Steve.
Could you give an assessment of the conduct of the federal licensees in these transactions?
So I'm not going to get into that in detail. I will say that the licensees cooperated with our investigation. Beyond that, I'm not going to say anything further. Steve.
Is she in custody, and what sort of penalties would she be facing?
Okay, so she is not in custody. She is, at this time, surrendering to the U.S. Marshals, and she'll have an initial appearance before a federal magistrate judge in St. Paul at 3 o'clock. The potential penalties are up to 15 years in prison under the straw purchasing statute. Matt.
Are you going to seek pretrial detention?
No.
Was he compiling this arsenal specifically to one day do this?
That's not in the indictment. The investigation continues, so I don't have any comment on that. Jennifer?
How have the stricter penalties that changed last year, how does that factor into this case?
It does. It's two things, really. The act that created the straw purchasing crime assists federal prosecutors because it's one thing to call it straw purchasing and use other statutes, which is what we have been doing prior to the passage of this law. It makes it clearer to a jury what you're talking about when the specific elements of straw purchasing and its title to straw purchasing are in effect. So we're grateful for the existence of this statute. The other thing the statute did was expand the potential penalties to 15 years. Prior statutes had not done so. Lou. Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
That's fine. Well, when you talk about that, is that the Safer Communities Act? Just want to be clear. And this may be outside the scope of what you want to talk about today, but we've been told by the BCA about Gooden lying, that he didn't have firearms in communication with authorities. We know Deardahl is the one who called 911. Did she tell authorities what he had in that house?
So you were right at the beginning of your question. That's something I'm not going to get into today. BCA's got an ongoing investigation. I'm going to respect that. Lou?
Are the purchases that are accounted for here, does that make up all of the guns and ammo that was found, or is there more investigation into other things that he received?
More investigation. Yes, Matt.
Were these guns purchased online and picked up at the stores locally, or were they all bought locally only?
Both.
Going along with Lou's question, is there any reason to believe that other people were providing weapons to Mr. Gooden?
We have no information as of this date about that, but the investigation does continue. Yeah.
Is there a potential defense? I mean, I'm just imagining when she comes to court, what if she tries to say, I was an abused person and he made me do this? Is that a defense under this law?
The indictment charges her with intentionally and deliberately and knowing engaging in this conduct. That's the law. Jennifer.
Talk about how you were able to tie these 5 weapons to Ashley and Gooden.
No, but the indictment describes text message exchanges. Obviously, as the indictment also makes clear, there are federal firearms licensees who cooperated, who have documents. So the proof is pretty much laid out in the indictment, but there'll be more as we go forward that we can reveal. One more question? Sepik usually gets the last one. All right,
I'll take
I'm going to
it.
go to Lou. You were slow. Go ahead, Lou.
We're talking about a review of potential of the case from the state. Is there anything remaining that potentially could be
falling under state charges?
So that I can't comment on because that's undergoing, and that'll be presented to the county attorney at the end of the BCA investigation. But our investigation continues into the remainder of the information that's relevant to the straw purchasing, and that's what we're focusing on. Thank you, everybody.